Gina, how are you feeling? You took a big tumble.
I sure did. I was helping my niece's dance recital and I fell off the stage 4.5 feet and right to my back, hit my arm, hit my leg, jumped right back up, was ready to go. And then the next day I woke up and I have a hamstring injury. I have a sprained ankle. I have bruises. Hot mess express.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad you're feeling better. That was scary. I mean, it could have been so much worse.
It could have been so much worse, but you know what really was the worst part is that I couldn't work out. I could not do my morning workout routine every day that I do it. And it put me in the worst mood. And it really made
Mhm.
me think about how important movement, exercise, and just moving our bodies really makes you feel overall as a whole.
Yeah. And you bounced back, I'm sure, because of it.
Yeah, I feel like I healed a lot quicker than I normally would have if I was not an active, agile person, especially at
So,
46. Like, come on.
and today's guest is really going to teach us a lot about our bodies and taking care of ourselves. And we're so excited to have Dr. Emily Splichal with us today. Dr. Emily is a functional podiatrist. She's the author of two books. Her most recent is called Sensory Sapiens, and she is the CEO of Naboso, which produces amazing products that keep our bodies and our feet very healthy. So, welcome to the Well Off Podcast, Dr.
Welcome.
Emily.
Thank you. Thank you both. Super excited to have a chat. And yeah, balance is one of my favorite topics. So,
So, let's get right into it. Tell us about balance and how that can help us with so many other facets of life.
yeah, I mean, balance is literally everything. Our ability to stand not just on 2 feet, but 1 foot is actually critical to how we walk. And most people don't realize that just simply walking across the room, you're actually doing a series of single leg stances or balances. And as we age, not even with age, because I also fell recently
Oh,
down the
no.
escalator. I know, down the escalator was so ridiculous. But I was also like, oh my gosh, the ability to be agile and to pick yourself up quick. This is not just a thing of people who are 65 older or for children learning to walk. We literally all need to be prioritizing our ability to stand on one leg, have body awareness, posture awareness, movement awareness, so we can just move gracefully through life and ideally without getting injured.
Yes, I'm a testament to that because I should have broken 17 bones when I fell, but I didn't.
Yeah, and falls can be detrimental because I'm obviously from the medical community like you, and my husband is 17 years older than I am. And I'm
Okay.
always saying we have to stay strong, we have to stay healthy because a fall will be the ruination of our lives.
Oh yeah.
Truly
It,
though.
it
Don't
will. And
fall.
don't fall. And I know it's not a sexy conversation to talk about is like falling and getting older and all that stuff, but it is. I mean, it even allows someone in their 40s and 50s to just be quicker with their kids, or you're on holiday and you're doing something you don't normally do. I'm going with my daughter to a surf park and even doing something that we normally would not do. We want to be able to kind of live life to its fullest and live our best life.
Absolutely. So
Absolutely. And
important.
that's what we
That's
talk about here.
yes, yes. So tell us a little bit about Naboso and how you started that and what it is.
Absolutely. So Naboso is a sensory-based product line, and all of our products, if I were to show one, have these tiny little pyramids on them. So imagine, because I'm the exact same
I'll,
thing.
I'll, I'll do the visual
Ima-
while you talk.
Okay, there you go. So there's tiny little pyramids, which are 1 millimeter tall. So they're small pyramids across the entire product, regardless of what the product is. And the purpose of those tiny little pyramids is that they stimulate a very specific nerve in the bottom of the feet. And the skin on the bottom of the feet has thousands of nerves, just like the palm of your hand. These are touch nerves. And we use these nerves to navigate the world, essentially, on our feet. We use it to navigate balance, posture, movement. Every step that we take, we are supposed to read the ground. Think like reading Braille. And that's actually the nerve that we're stimulating is
Hmm.
the braille nerve that when you read Braille with your finger, we're stimulating the same nerve. So what I often tell people is if they had a Naboso product, to push their finger into it and then look, and you can see little tiny indents that looks kind of like little Braille dots to me. And when I look at it, I'm like, oh yes, this is Braille for your feet. By
Ah,
stimulating your feet with the different products, you build awareness, you build foot strength, and it's an awesome way to recover your feet.
Huh.
amazing. And you know what? In your book, Sensory Sapiens, I learned so much about feet. And I mean, obviously, they're important. They take us where we need to go, but just you touch on vibration and how we lose certain feeling in our feet or by the time we're 40. And so, can you talk about that? Like, it's fascinating, you know, what our feet do and how we need to treat them.
Yeah, so essentially, no one really thinks about their feet unless they have foot pain, is really
Right.
what it is.
True.
Or if they have a background in dance. I was a gymnast for 13 years, so I have a deep appreciation for the
Me
foot
too.
and
Me
the
too.
awareness. Yeah, go gymnastics.
I just like to have pretty feet and get pedicures.
Yeah,
That's my
that is important as well. But so most people, let's say outside of the pedicure, um, don't think about the role that the foot plays because we're kind of taught to just put them in the shoes. And then the shoes can be the fancy part, right? And you're thinking about shoes from a fashion perspective. But our feet is our body's foundation. If you think about standing, the only contact point between the body and the ground are your feet. So, kind of like the foundation of a building or a home. If your foundation, I mean, the foundation is the first part you build of a home or a building, is you have to have a very strong, stable foundation. And then everything builds on top of that. So, if your foundation, i.e., feet, are not stable, your knees can't, your hips, your lower back, your shoulders. So just think of people who have low back pain. They probably have some form of weak feet or flat feet. Think about people who have, knee issues, IT band, runners. Any activity that we love to do pretty much involves your foot and foot strength or foot awareness. So yeah, it is literally life changing when you can understand how to just think about the feet from a little perspective, just a little baby perspective, even if it's the toes. I know before we started recording, we started talking about our toes and bunions and toe spacers. That is one of the easiest or lowest hanging fruit for me to get someone who doesn't really understand the depth of the foot to just start to appreciate it.
Yeah.
well,
Go ahead.
I notice a big difference in my feet since I've been using the Naboso splay spacers. And, you know, Gina knows, and I shared with you before that I wear pointy high heels pretty much every day and was starting to really worry about worry about my feet that they were not my toes did not look straight anymore and I'm like, "Oh no, we can't have that." And now I notice such difference even after a night's sleep taking your toe separators out. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're so much better."
Yep. Yeah, what I
Yeah.
tell people to do is just a little easy reset. And as a podiatrist, I am one who I'm not going to necessarily tell someone, don't you ever wear your heels or your stilettos, partly because I still wear them. So don't want to
That's
be a
good to know.
hypocrite.
It makes me feel better.
I feel better
Don't
too.
want to be a
Yeah.
hypocrite. And the funny thing is that's actually how I started my career over 12 years ago, was partly based off of, as in the category of all the podiatrists, and everyone was like, don't wear heels. And like, you say what you're supposed to say or what you think you're supposed to say. And then you would go to a wedding and it would be a bunch of podiatrists and all the women would be in their stilettos. And I was like, you can't say that then. Like, that's not. So I would just be like, I'm going to be the realist in the room and be like, hey, if you're going to wear them, I'm going to teach you how to reset your feet. So what do you do after wearing the heels at a night out or whatnot? Use your toe spacers, release the bottom of your feet, stretch your calves. And I'll just teach you how to reset, knowing that you're going to essentially wear the heels anyway. It was so funny. There was a New Yorker article that was done about me 10 years ago or 12 years ago. And they compared it to a drug needle exchange program, which
Oh my God.
Now
Wow.
you're in my world. Yeah.
That was a little bit extreme. That's not exactly the same, but okay, if that analogy works for you, I guess we'll go
That's
with
so
it.
funny.
Well, harm reduction is what that's called. So
Yeah.
that's what you were doing,
Oh my God.
Yes,
So
reducing
you,
harm to your feet.
yes,
yeah. So you said in your book that there are two most important days in your life, the day you were born and the day you find out why. And you just alluded to 12 years ago, you started this. Will you talk to us about the day you realized your why?
yes, absolutely. So the day I realized my why was really, it's not even anything that we're talking about at first glance. Is I'm a physician, so it could be my purpose is that I am a healer, but that wasn't really sitting with me well. I was like, sure, I teach people how to heal, but after 13 years of academia, what really got me the most excited and fulfilled me was when I was actually teaching. What we didn't mention yet is that one of my other businesses is an education company. And I created certifications and programs to educate allied health professionals, trainers, coaches, Pilates, chiros about foot health from the perspective of how I look at it, from a very unique, integrated, functional perspective. And I started to realize that as soon as I started doing that and teaching and educating and empowering through knowledge, that's where I was like, I feel fulfilled. My soul feels fulfilled. So then that's where I had to like really understand the identity of where do I find my purpose. So then what happened with my patients is I was like, okay, I still see patients, I have patient care, but every encounter with a patient was actually an opportunity for me to educate. And how can I teach them about their feet in a way that they can actually understand it? They feel ownership of their body, of their feet, and they're taking this knowledge and actually feeling empowered. So that is really what it was. But when I first got out of school, after going to school for 13 years, is I was literally lost. I would go work 9 to 5, treating patients, and I would come home and I'd be like, is this it? Like, is this it
Right.
for
Yeah.
the rest of my life? Like, I was so lost, and I tried to find information on the internet at that time as far as like post academia identity crisis. Like, that's
Mm.
what I would call it. I was like, I didn't know what my purpose was and where I was supposed to fall, and I felt like just being a podiatrist 9 to 5 doing clinical care was not. I was like, still like, no, there's still something there.
Hmm.
So then that's really it's so I consider myself an educator. My purpose on this planet is to educate and to deliver knowledge and content. And most of it is by taking complex medical concepts and spinning them in a way that a layperson can understand them, digest them, and then take it as ownership.
Hmm. You know, so many people are grossed out by feet, Dr. Emily. So I mean, I love that you're focusing on helping people get healthy and educated, but how did you end up in this space to be a functional podiatrist?
Well, so it's not a story that people would expect of how I would land on feet. It's, well, my
No
background, I
pun
was a
intended.
gymnast. Yeah, exactly. No, or pun totally intended. Depends. But
Yeah.
so I was a gymnast. You got that over here. I was a gymnast or a barefoot athlete. So we know that. Then I got into the fitness industry. So fun fact, my background, my bachelor's is actually forensics. So I thought that I was going to be like a CSI detective forensic pathologist. That was actually my
Wow.
dream.
That's
So I
awesome.
moved to New York City. I know, moved to New York City, and I was working at John Jay College doing forensic DNA work. And then unhappy, long story short of it, I quit, walked into a gym and was like, I want to be a personal trainer. I was 21 years old. And they're like, you're hired. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anything about it. But the funny thing is that as soon as I walked into the gym, I felt at home. And I don't know if any of the listeners could identify that with moments in
Hmm.
their life where I was just like, there's something here that is like resonating with my soul. And so I was like, I have to do this. I have to be able to stay within the fitness industry. The other requirement when I was looking at graduate schools is that I'm from the Midwest originally. I grew up in North Dakota. Then I went to undergrad in Minnesota. So I moved to New York City. And the moment I moved to New York City, the city spoke to my soul. I was like, I am home.
I love
That's
that.
great.
We can
Yes.
relate. We can relate.
No other city in the world like it.
Exactly. Right. So those were my two requirements as I was looking at graduate schools. Because I know I didn't want to be directly a personal trainer for the rest of my life. I wanted to kind of push into it deeper. But there were two requirements as I was looking at graduate medical schools. I had to be able to still maintain my fitness, personal training, teaching classes, and I had to be able to stay in New York City. There was one place that I could go, the New York College of Podiatric Medicine. So I was like, I guess I'm going to be a podiatrist. So,
well, there you go.
that is it.
That's so
Wow.
funny.
And of course, I spun it to be, what I've done today.
And I love your story because it's so in sync with who we are and what we promote here at the Well Off Podcast. Is so many of our guests found their why or found their purpose by a very non-traditional or non-linear path. And you're just a testament to what then could happen. You just have to start. You've got to get on the path and start. And now look at what you're doing. You still continue to educate and you have this line of products and it's just fantastic. And I'm fascinated by it all because I guess I, like I said, I know how important our feet are, but reading your book really just brought it to another level of understanding and how important the care of our feet is and what it does for our bodies.
Thank you.
And so speaking on like the education part of it, what is body schema? Because in my world of marketing, schema is the language coded on the back end of your website so that Google knows who you are and what you do. And so talk to us about body schema and the importance of it.
Okay, I like that. I don't think I ever knew that definition, so I'll kind of play with that if
Go.
that's what people are familiar with. But so schema would be your brain's or your mind's perspective or internal map of your body and space. So it would be how your brain knows your size and shape. That's called morphology, right? So just your shape. How much space are you taking up in this canister? Because I oftentimes when I teach, I'm like, this physical canister, right? How do you have an awareness of where this canister is moving, right? That is your brain's internal map of your size and shape. And this is in the background. You are not aware of this, but you use it all day, every day as you navigate other people, objects, walking around, etc. One of the best examples to help people understand how you use this, and it's one I use often, but imagine that you are in a crowded restaurant and now you have to go to the bathroom. So you have to weave your way around all the tables and the chairs, and you are there are different distances between each other, right? So you are navigating, am I going to walk straight through the chairs? Am I going to turn to the side and weave that way? Or do you come to where two chairs are and you're like, not fitting through there, and then you go a different way, right? So you're making these decisions off of the size and how much space you take up relative to other objects. Walking in New York City is another great example because you have people coming at you and you're like, I can tell from where that person is on the sidewalk and their size and my size and where I am. Can we literally just walk past each other with no one making a move? Or do we have to kind of like, right? Like you're doing these things subconsciously. Now, as we age, we lose this. We lose the strength and the accuracy of our mental map or our size and shape, which is one of the number one contributors to falls that we were mentioning earlier, or the inaccuracy of movement, which could lead to some other injury. Another place that you will see this is in athletes. So when an athlete gets a concussion, it actually disrupts the accuracy and the timing and kind of the quickness of the feedback of navigating your body and space relative to other people. So to me, it's one of the most important starting points when you look at movement. And anyone who has had a background in particularly like dance or gymnastics. Those are high body schema, body awareness, body perception arts or sports movements
Yeah.
because of just the nature of the sport, right? So that's where I try to challenge people to find other ways to strengthen their schema. Tai Chi for older people, it's talked about all the time. And one of the biggest reasons that is so beneficial for those that age is because it strengthens body schema or mind body connection, mind body, not just in a meditative way, but what does this mental map look like?
Wow.
Very interesting.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah.
I need to pivot to something for a minute because you shared something that I think our listeners would love to know, that you taught Oprah how to walk in heels.
I did. I did. It was actually one of her last episodes, and it's still, you can still see it online. It's Oprah's Stiletto School. It is
Okay.
online, and I am teaching her and her audience how to walk in heels. And yeah, so much fun. And it was one of the key pivotal moments in my career, which then led to like doing other media around it. But then
Mm-hmm.
realizing, how do I use this as a platform to really advocate foot health? At the end of the day, that's what I was advocating. It wasn't advocating stiletto wear. It was
Right.
posture and body awareness, and how do we connect our feet to our deep core when we are wearing heels so we are walking gracefully. But yeah, that was a fun moment in my career.
I
So
bet. My
what are some
goodness.
tips on how to walk in heels? Because I wear them all the time.
Yes. So when we walk in heels, particularly because there's going to be a shift in your body, right? So you go on heels, you now have, okay, the arch of your lower back is going to be shifted. When you
Mm-hmm.
shift your lower back, now your upper body has to kind of compensate for that. So how are you shifting the Jenga blocks so you feel as stacked as possible? And you need to have flexibility to do this. You have to have postural flexibility to wear high heels and shift the Jenga blocks so that it feels natural and not strained or stressful, and you're just kind of sitting in your skeleton. The other
Mm.
part of it is that part of how we stand and move gracefully is that you actually have to oppose gravity. So gravity is this downward force that's coming down. You always want to have a lift. So this is where in your heels, you're thinking of lifting from the crown of your head. But I like to also lift from your pelvic floor. When you lift from your pelvic floor, so you're stopping, thinking like a Kegel, stop your pee, stop your poo, you're lifting, right? So you have
Uh-huh.
to
I feel like Tara and I are like sitting up
I'm
straight, or
like
we're like
this.
focusing on
I'm doing
we're
the same
focusing
thing.
on our
And
posture.
I'm
And I
standing
didn't
right
even
now.
realize it. I'm like, where you are? Oh my God, you're so
Yes.
I
funny.
am. But
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
wearing
sorry.
flip-flops.
Back to the pelvic floor.
So yes, so you want to lift the pelvic floor as you are lifting from the crown of your head. And then in the heel, in the shoe, you have to be balanced. You can't be tipped to the front of the shoe. You have to try to find balanced weight distribution between the front of the foot and the heel, even if it's a little bit more towards the heel, just so you're a little bit more stacked, right?
Mm.
Then as you are walking in them, because there's one thing to practice standing first, right? Can you stand kind of tall and in gravity, right? Into your fascia when you're standing in the heels. To walk in heels, that's a whole nother story, because you need to make sure that you are not exceeding your flexibility. And this is what I find, and this is what I saw a lot in New York City, is that as soon as you gotta get the train, like whatever it is, right? Then people start to turn their feet out and they walk like a duck in their heels, and
Mm-hmm.
they actually lean their body forward because they don't have the flexibility to maintain this. So if you do not have the flexibility, you got to take short, little graceful steps, which means you got to walk slower. So if you're walking with someone, i.e., especially a man, to be like, slow it down. Like you have to slow it down so that you can maintain the proper movement. And technically, you do go heel toe in stilettos. You would still strike your heel first, and then you want to be able to find a rhythm in how you're walking. Walking is very rhythmic, and not just in stilettos, but even shoes and flats. You want to be able to find the rhythm of walking while staying lifted in gravity, maintaining that, and finding a grace in how you move. That's kind of a
Mm.
quick crash course in it.
I love it. No,
Wow.
that's good to know because we are walking in those heels all the time.
All the time, all the time. I'll be wearing them tonight. So I'm gonna see if I do anything differently.
There you go. Just think lift the pelvic floor. And that's
Okay,
one
I
of the
will. I will. What are some mistakes that you think people make with choosing footwear? Do you think people are not buying the right size, or, are there some common errors that people make with footwear?
well, so it depends on the way you want to go with it. Is there's a whole category of minimal barefoot shoes, which
Mm-hmm.
right, we can have a chat on that if you would like, as far as is that a more appropriate sneaker or styled shoe with a wide toe box? It's flexible. There's no structure to it. There's no cushion. There's no drop. So it's a very, you can kind of twist the shoe. That is one category that I do work with a lot and advocate that type of shoe. Versus on the other side here, you have a more structured shoe. There's a lot of stack. You could think kind of like a Hoka. If you want to mention a brand, a Hoka is a larger stacked rocker based shoe. Could go
Mm-hmm.
in that direction. I think if there's an understanding of what are you trying to achieve, if you want to achieve natural foot strength, natural foot health, I would look at more of the minimal shoe brands. And that's for like day-to-day activity. That's for working out. Working out shoes are very different than what you may wear to work, what
Mm-hmm.
you may wear when you're commuting or, on the weekend. So I think understanding the appropriateness of the demands you're about to place on your shoe. What I recommend to people who work on their feet, meaning like a hospital or something like that, right? Where they have to be on their feet 8-10 hours on concrete or tile floor.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend Hoka. I would recommend Dansko, which is a stacked shoe, kind of
Yeah.
like a
I
chef
used to wear
shoe.
them when I was a nurse. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
it is hard for me to have one belief saying like, no, we need to have no cushion, no structure, be minimal, be natural. To like a chef, you cannot do that, right? A chef is going to be on their feet for 12 hours and running around and not thinking about their posture because they're trying to achieve ABC, right? So I try to be as realist, again, this kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
stiletto, very real with it, and guide people how to minimize stress on their body through shoes, and then how to reset at the end, right? And then throw stilettos and fashion in there as well if you want, and that's an element of it.
I
Yeah.
love that because nothing is absolute. It's not all or nothing. But I know I've been to a podiatrist a couple of times and have accompanied family members to podiatrists, and they're wearing really ugly shoes and promoting really like orthopedic, not fashionable shoes that just aren't realistic for, I think, most people. And I don't think just because you age, you should have to sacrifice fashion or wear shoes that are unattractive. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. I have two questions. So when you going back to the workout shoes, the
Mhm.
New Balance makes a shoe. It's called like New Balance Minimus. And so they were
Mhm.
saying that like lower to the ground when you're doing weightlifting is the better shoe to wear. You agree with that?
Yep, yep, yep. So that's essentially you are trying to feel your foundation better, right? You are trying to access as much of your foot strength and your foot mobility, your ankle mobility. You can spread your toes a little bit better. So yes, 100%. And I used to love that shoe. The New Balance Minimus was one of my go-tos.
See, I haven't gotten it yet, but I've seen it and I'm like, I need to get that shoe. That needs to be my next
Yeah.
one because I do a lot of weightlifting. So I think
Yeah.
that would be my next shoe. My other question. So my other question is talking about going to back to Noboso and like the foot health kind of thing. So like if someone has plantar fasciitis or has some sort of or bad bunions, what are your
Mhm.
recommendations as far as that? Like does the neuro ball help? Obviously the splay helps with bunions. I use that and it's definitely helping.
Yeah, so let's say plantar fasciitis, which is one of the most common conditions if people start to experience foot pain, it's probably going to be some sort of heel pain. Plantar fasciitis is part of what I would recommend through Naboso specifically is doing a daily foot release. And that can be using the narrow ball that you both had as well, but it's a ball that's the two pieces. So you would stand on the two pieces and you would release your feet. Now, the benefit of it is that you're doing pinpoint pressure versus rolling the feet. So we actually recommend, and as a podiatrist, I recommend pinpoint pressure. Stand on 5 different points on the bottom of the foot, hold the pressure for 20 seconds. You're getting compression, and then you release that pressure. That's very good for how you're resetting the muscles. The texture is also stimulating circulation, and circulation is a really important part of how we recover. If any of the listeners have seen the Normatec boots or the compression boots, because I know there's several other brands now where you're sitting in a boot and they're at like reset, restore centers, that's on the philosophy of circulation. And circulation is a critical part of recovery. We need to think the exact same thing with our feet, plantar fasciitis, heel pain, etc. What are you doing for circulation? That's where you could think the neural ball with the texture with pinpoint pressure. So that's great. I actually recommend doing the neural ball release. This is for everyone. If you have feet, you need to do a neural ball release in the morning, in the evening. It takes 2 minutes. Do it when you're brushing your teeth. So you are essentially habit stacking, is what I like to call it. Two things that are healthy for you that you can do consistently to release the feet and bring a little bit of a reset. That's why I would start with plantar fasciitis. With bunions, again, toe spacers, but whether it's a bunion or it's plantar fasciitis or anything else, you also have to bring in some level of foot strength. And that's where understanding the timing of where you fit that in. But we actually have 26 small muscles in the bottom of our feet, of each foot. So this foot has 26 muscles in the bottom, and they're kind of like your pelvic floor. So just think very deep stability muscle that maybe people are like, I don't even know how to explain the pelvic floor, but it's very deep and it stabilizes your pelvis. You have 26 very deep, small muscles in each foot that stabilize the foot. You have to strengthen those muscles as well, just like every other muscle in the body. So that is part of bunion prevention. That's part of preventing or managing plantar fasciitis, flat feet, most conditions in the feet. As a podiatrist, it's because people have weaker feet or they're actually disconnected from these muscles.
Amazing.
I'm learning so much. I'm learning so
Yeah,
much.
me too. So, Dr. Emily, you are right. This woman who came into this field by an indirect route. You're a functional podiatrist. You're the author of 2 books. You're a CEO of this sensory company. You're a mom, many other things. So, what do you do to promote your wellness and make yourself able to juggle all of these wonderful things?
Yeah, so I'm very into, well, one, I'm very scheduled and I'm type A and I love my coffee. But besides that, is that
I was going to say, I think we all are.
yeah, I know, exactly. My dentist there, the whole thing. But so 2 things. One, I very much prioritize my sleep. I do not, shortchange or compromise that. And I get between 8 and 9 hours a night. This is every night. And if that means I have to say, you know what, I'm going to shorten that social event, knowing that, the importance of this, but I'll say, you know what, I have to do this. So I try to balance that and I'm very not susceptible to peer pressure. At this age, I don't fall for peer pressure.
Yes, we can't be when we're type A's.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't need to do that. I've also stopped drinking 2 months ago, 3 months ago, because of what it does to sleep, performance the next day. And then I've just been reading a lot more research about alcohol and women in their 40s and 50s, especially kind of in that hormone change window, how it has such an effect on us. So that was something, because primarily it affects my sleep. So I really prioritize my sleep, my routine, and I'm very consistent in whatever I do. The other one, which is super, super important, is my Emily time. And my Emily time is always movement-based. Movement is my therapy. Movement is my anchor. It's how I reset. It's how I force myself to be in the present moment. For 7 years, I did aerials, and that was one of the best ways for me to express myself. It's also very dangerous, so it forces you in the present moment, and that was very important for me. Now I do ballroom, and my ballroom
Ah,
is part of how I express myself. It also forces you to be in the present moment because you have to be feeling and just really in the music and in the movement. So I would say those would be my two most important things: is sleep
Love,
and
love
my
it.
movement reset.
that's great.
I
That's
love
great. I
that.
recently took up tap dancing. So when you
Ooh.
were saying heel toe before, I immediately went to tap class. But I never was able as a child to afford dance school and always wanted to. And I'm like, what am I waiting for? Like I can do this. I can make time for it. So I'm loving it.
I love
I love
that. I
that.
love that.
Hmm.
Love that.
Hmm.
So this has been such an informative conversation, and there is one thing that we do ask all of our guests on our show is what does well off mean to you?
Well off. I actually was thinking about that on my drive here. I was like, well off, well off. That's it. Like, how do I play with that well off? So funny.
Yeah.
So to me, well off would be that you feel satisfied and fulfilled, not necessarily financially, but through your purpose and really how you're surrounding your day with people, activities, engagement, present moment. So yeah, I guess it, not to be like a cheesy textbook answer, but that really is
No,
what it is.
that's,
That I
yeah,
feel.
no, that's
No,
great.
it's not cheesy at all. I love it. And I think that, you really sent a message when you were saying how you went to college for forensics and you entered the field and you're like, you know what? Not for me. Too many people don't do that.
Yeah,
They feel like I went to school for this, I must do this. And
Right.
it's so important to listen to that inner voice and find our joy, find our flow, our passion, whatever you want to call it. And you did that. So, not cheesy at all. We have to feel fulfilled.
I
absolutely.
love that. So where can our listeners find you and find these great products to help with their foot health?
Absolutely. So for my website, my podiatry website, I do see patients virtually all around the world. It is thefunctionalfootdoc.com. And then my Instagram handle, probably the easiest to remember, would be the functional foot doc. Just kind of keep pushing into that. For Naboso and the different sensory-based products, through Naboso, we have over 40 products. So we just happen to keep referring to the toe spacers and the neural ball, but we have socks, insoles, mats, release tool, balance products, all these that are sensory-based. It is naboso.com, naboso.com, naboso.com. And then on Instagram, it's naboso_technology. The books are on Amazon. I have hundreds of videos on YouTube where I primarily educate, but I educate consumers or individuals through exercises, demonstration videos. I do a lot of free webinars so people can actually dive into a 1 hour conversation about bunions. How exciting is that?
I would love to join that conversation. I did have bunion surgery on one foot, but it's coming on the other one.
So you get it. Yes. So there's a lot of content out there for people to start to explore. And what's most important to me is take ownership of their feet and of their health. I really advocate for patient ownership of their body and their well-being. So that's my content.
I love that.
Quick question. Are you offering our listeners a discount on your website? Because we would add that now. We usually do a code well off and whatever
Yes.
percentage.
Yes. So that would be 20% off, well off for 20%.
Okay, so I'll say, you want to say it, Sarah?
You say it.
So for our listeners, if you're interested in getting some of these amazing products and seeing what Naboso has to offer and give your feet a little love, we are offering a 20% discount that Dr. Emily has graciously offered. It'll be well off 20 at checkout. Get your stuff and get a discount.
And thank you for that, Dr. Emily.
Of course.
And thank you for being on. This was such a great conversation.
It
Thank
was
you. I had so much.
wonderful.
Thank you.